Welcome back to a new episode of The Graveyard House. This is episode 8. The reason it's been so long is because it's been a brutally cold winter. The last episode I posted was in October. So now here we are in May. Something came up that I never expected to do, which was replace this entire floor from the joist to the skin and everything. I had to make this floor level with the extension in the back. So in this episode, you'll see me come to that discovery, slowly peeling the layers of the flooring up and coming to the brutally honest realization that there was no choice but to get rid of all the rafters.
Everything gotta come up.
And start from scratch. And that's what I did. I did my best to try and keep it period, and I'll explain what I mean by that. But this is the progress of the Graveyard House at the moment. We got some temp lighting on this side. Patrick put in some temp lighting so that we could start working on the ceiling in here. Ken is doing an amazing job doing the stonework. You'll see us put this 400-pound stone in place at the end of the video if you stick around to the very end. And I just want to say thank you. If you're new to this video series, this is a house built in the 1790s. I bought with my business partner in March of 23. I didn't gut this place, it came gutted, but it's a functioning house. Plumbing, electrical is all in place, but I'm going to replace a lot of that in the process of restoring the house. So go back to episode 1. You can see where we started. And the reason we call it the Graveyard series, because right outside the front window, there's a graveyard right there. And then there's an old cow barn that's part of the property. That's my 10 acres across the street. And the graveyard is a little island on there. A big shout out and thank you to Type Bond, who sponsors this series. Thank you, Type Bond. A big shout out to G&H Home Building Supply in Greenville, New York. They're local and they're supplying a lot of the material for the house. G&H's lumberyard is all inside, so if it's crappy weather out, you can load your truck inside. It's a plus. And a big shout out to Scaffold Mart for donating these to the project. Thank you, Scaffold Mart. Thank you, BJ.
But here's how it goes. This is what you're supposed to do. The guides are, they're guidelines. So you go like this, and then you operate like a gentleman. If it was corded, you go like this. And you don't put holes in the floor, and you don't have to deal with the stupid guide. But Jimmy don't like that, so you gotta go like that. No glasses and no ears. Go blind and deaf. Be a man.
He put it back. After the take, he's putting it back.
These are gonna be for sale on my website. I'm starting a new website. It's called Go to Work.
All joking aside, Mike knows that I don't like when he pins the guard back. But that's okay. It works for him. And thank you again to Scaffolding Mart for sending us a few of these. We can get up at that ceiling now. Time to put in this window I got on Facebook Market. I paid $1,000 for this. It's not exactly what I envisioned for this hole here, but it's going to do. It has windows that open, which I like. That was the main reason I liked it, is because I could open these 2 side windows. And it gives us plenty of view. And there's also going to be other windows in this whole section of the house. There's going to be windows on either side of that wall there, left and right. Getting this in place with just the 2 of us is a little difficult. Most often just he and I alone, and so I got these sacrificial straps from Harbor Freight. We put them in place and then I cut them. And then we took them out and then I brought them to the sewing machine and I refixed them. So no harm, no foul. Connecting the old to the new construction to the old construction. This spray foam from Type Bond, this foam, extreme foam, is a great way to connect and fill in some of the gaps. There's still a lot more to go, but this was just a quick fix. I thought maybe we'd work into the winter. I was trying to close up some of the breezes, but there's a lot of work to do. But in this case, you could see where the old and the new meet. This is a good fix it for now until I get some good roofing and exterior work in place. Thank you, Type Bond. Now it's time to figure out what to do with this floor. You could see there was sectioned rooms on this particular floor, and there's no less than 4 and 5 layers in some spots. And me and Mike are taking a really close look at what we're going to do here. During the general assessment, some of the boards broke through and opened up to the downstairs, and I realized how mismatched some of the bits and pieces of the floor. I want this section to connect cleanly into this section. So one of the first things we had to do is get rid of this heating system. The original owner had this heating system that he had while he was working on the house. He basically took all the baseboard heating in the house and connected them all together, so he had one big heating unit in these big open rooms that he had once he finished the demolition that he put on. So me and Mike got rid of these. I threw these copper pipes out. All the heating is going to be replaced. My vision is that this entire floor is going to be one big radiant floor. And I know there's some issues with putting radiant floor under hardwood flooring, but I'll figure that out in time. And here you see us starting to peel up the layers. At this point, I did not know that I was going to replace the floor. I had a fantasy where I was just going to peel up all of this various bits and pieces of parquet floor and old planks, new planks, the leveling. That was the big problem I realized. I wanted to make the floor level with the extension that we just worked on. And pulling up this floor, I started to get a real clear picture about how uneven the floor was. After pulling up all the bits and pieces of flooring, I realized this floor is just unbelievably unlevel. It was right about now where I began to go through the various phases of coming to the realization of what had to be done. There's denial, there's confronting the truth, trying to decide if I have the money or if I want to spend the money. The entire time, I knew the inevitable was that we were going to have to tear everything completely out and start fresh. But I kept myself in denial. I'm going to get like 4 inches in this room, maybe more.
More? That's with the measure that. Look, there's a piece of flooring right there. I bet you that's 5.5 inches.
Yep. Smells good. So this is weird. This is like a doorway to a basement. So maybe this was the original basement entrance before this building was added.
Like a billboard?
Like once this building was added, they made that the basement. But before, that was the basement. Certainly feels like an entrance, doesn't it? Now, this is the original floor. Everything is finally completely cleaned out. Here you see some adaptations over the years, some repairs. And this is the extension. My idea is to have this flow completely through. I want the floors to go tangent, just so there's no threshold, no nothing. But this beam right here, this 8 by 8 inch beam, that is right on the basement wall. One side droops down on either side. So the building droops on either side of that. So here you can see what I was talking about. That big beam right in the middle of the room. Everything droops left and right of that big giant beam. So now the plan, the short-term fix, is to cut that beam right there at this edge, right there, and then cut it all the way at the other side and lower it. But to do that, I need to break apart this foundation wall. And we've already got some of it broken out, but we need a lot more to go. So if I break that out, put some screw jacks under it, lower it down, I think we'll be okay. At least that's what I thought.
All right, I know what I'm good for with the rest of Unlimited here. You ready? I'm going to show you what I'm good for.
Oh. There you go.
Mongo like candy. Something about where Big Choo Choo go.
Yeah.
So unless we have to take it out, I don't want to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Let's lower it. Let's see if it lowers down to where we need it.
Right.
And then if we got to chisel it out, we're going to have to like gingerly chisel it out.
If we get close right here, I'll just cut this and we'll put it in.
And drop it down on top of that.
So we'll leave that where it
That's
lives.
fine.
Yeah. So we might do that.
But I'm saying like there's no reason that if we have to, we have to.
Yeah. And this I might have to cut right there. And then I don't know how the fuck I'm going to do it. Cut the notch in that and let it drop down. I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there.
Well, let me just like bang bang with the lump hammer away in here.
All right, so the whole bottom of this beam is clear. All right, for some reason, these joists had their own foundation, primarily because they're so weak and shitty. You can see how weak and shitty they are. So now we're going to prep to cut the big joist right under Mike's foot there, and at that end, and then lower this whole thing about 3 or 4 inches. That should get us close to level. We still have a lot to do after that, but we'll get rid of this big hump in the floor. Okay, here we are at the, I think this is an 8x8. Hand-hewn 8x8, which is holding up the bump in the floor. So everything's cleared. We got the rocks cleared out from this rotted beam, that rotted beam. So now when I cut this here and lower this down 4 inches, cut that side, lower it down 4 inches, the big hump in the main floor should come down. And then this will get a steel plate. I'll adjust the edge of the floor on each side, and we should be pretty good. Mike's going to come right now with a circular saw and give me a starting cut right through the top of this. I'm going to cut down here. This is all the new stonework that Ken did, so I'm going to leave that. I don't want to break it out because it's connected to the front of the building. Oh, that's it.
What's that?
That's good. I can see the light come right through. All right, that's all I need. I got either the hand saw or the Sawzall. Tell me if you want to break, I'll do it.
Yeah, let's take a blow for a second.
Okay, let me get it, I'll do it.
Here we go. He's doing this for 8 seconds for the camera, by the way. Stop trying to force it. Let the saw do the work. Let the saw do the work.
Is it cracking?
What?
Something's cracking.
Oh, no, the whole thing's cracking.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just reliving my youth. Stop pushing it so hard. Let the saw do the work. Michael, stop pushing so hard. We got plasma cutters, 3D printers, hammers fucking for days. Batteries that we don't know what the fucking batteries are for. What is it? Oh, that's a Bosch battery. But we don't have Bosch tools. Oh, yeah, we do. They're here somewhere. And here we are, like Jacob and Isaac. Fucking... It's on a fucking 12 by 12 beam.
Let the saw do the work. Go gentle.
I can't get a bite on it. That's the thing.
You worked your way in about 1/4 of an inch so far.
No, that's because it's rotted down there. That's why. You want to finish it so it don't pop though? Or
No, it's cut through.
it is.
Yeah. So here we go. I'm just hand loosening that.
Well, we should cut the other one and then lower it together, right?
Yeah. But you can see how much is coming down already.
Oh yeah.
That's already loose.
Yeah, but don't.
I gotta let the building settle.
You don't want
there.
that pulling that side though. You know what I'm saying? By lowering it.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave that there, and then we'll cut the other side. All right. So we just cut that side. Now we're going to cut the opposite end, which is, I never even measured. I don't even know how far Oh, there it goes. It dropped.
That's through. That's through.
Go right there. All right.
What is that pole? Over here?
Dude, I'm just doing it by hand. The whole floor is, yeah, the whole floor is moving now.
Oh, she's moving. Look at that. See it?
Oh, yeah. Wow, look at that jog. Oh, yeah. Plan worked. Oh. So we just dropped this whole middle of this room by 3 inches. Close to 3 inches on this rigid beam. Now it's buckling up a little bit, see. My whole goal is to try and get that floor level with this one without having to add more to that floor. You know what I'm saying?
Or just having a transition.
Yeah. This is good. So we'll rip some of this other shit back, fill in those joists with some healthy wood. Wow. Tonight I'll get a laser level on that floor and see how far out, see if this one's underneath that one.
Yeah,
with enough to pad it up.
Is if we rip this up, and we're probably gonna have to jack that one up, and that's gonna have to come up. But I would do that after we rip the floor.
Yeah, we can see everything too.
We're gonna open this whole floor.
Yeah,
everything gotta come up. It's easier.
I know. I'm just laughing. You just sound like a real New Yorker when you say it. As you already know by now, as we started peeling up the floorboards, we were seeing all these janky repairs, all these spindly little rotted away joists. Nothing was on any sort of regular centering. Although charming and beautiful, the floor from underneath just needed to go. The beams went north and south up until this section here, and then they started going east and west for no real reason, maybe other than just the entrance to the basement. You could see them there in the background. So I made the gut-wrenching decision to just get rid of everything and just start from scratch. So you could see where I lowered the beam, thinking that was going to be the solve. But the whole rim joist was also completely out of whack from so much settling over the years. And even these might have been the original beams. I kept them to do other projects with in and around the house so that we can keep the charm and we got a good story. But all of this had to go. And that long beam that I tried to lower, which was the impetus for this whole thing, was 24 feet long. When your batteries are all dead. Thank you. Thank you. It was mostly just me and Mike all winter long, and it was average 20 to 10 degrees out. It was brutal, but I wanted to keep inching along with this project. There's that really long beam that we cut out, 23 and a half, 24 feet long, and the decision is to replace it all. I'm going to put nice looking wood over the basement, and I'm just going to use conventional lumber over the crawl space. And this is the lumber that I had made to order. This is all 6x8s. Right now they're all 15 feet long. The overall span from one side of the building to the other is about 24. The space is about 24 feet square. The pieces over the basement, which is exactly what I'm going to use those for, is about 13 to 14 feet. And I wanted that so that when you look up underneath, it looks vintage, and I did not want to lose that. So when these beams turn gray in several years, people might assume that these are the original construction, although you could see the rim joist for the house right there on the left side of the camera. I had to leave that. I couldn't remove that. It was holding up too much stuff. So we're going to just sister these 6x8s directly to the side of that. That's going to be our new level, and I'm taking that level off of the floor that I put on the extension. So the level mark that I'm working with is what's in the extension. Everything else is just going to live around it. So this floor is going to just float inside of all the crookedness, and that'll be able to pad everything later. And this is our first piece. And since we couldn't go from the front of the building to the back with one full piece, I made the splice in the middle so that it would land in between two floor joists. So I cut it back, and we're getting it level. You see I'm leveling off the floor in the back there. And then I'm using tons of really long spikes. I eventually come back in there. I'm using timber locks and the lumber locks that I got from my friends at the Robertson Screw Company. And I go back in eventually, and I use 12-inch lag bolts, half-inch long. And this is where you see I splice it, and it was a tight fit. So we had to get the sledge out, bang it in place. And this was such a grueling job in the cold, I said to Mike, let's just do one rim joist and then take a break. And then let's just do the other joist and take a break. And that's what we were doing. And that's how we made it through the severe winter, by doing just a little goal at a time. I also had other things to do, working on the Cadillac and some other projects. And now realizing that the other joist, the one that we cut out and originally had to be spliced, I made a coupling. I made 2 plates like this for either side of the coupling, and then one long piece at the bottom. So when it's in tension, it's going to be stretched down. It's all going to get supported by new bricks on the foundation wall, so I'm not worried. But I did want it to link together. While we were working on it, everything was going to stay in place. So there's one long piece spliced to another long piece. This will all come clear in just a minute. And I got into the action of working on it late at night one night. So everything is bolted with long thread rod, 3/4 inch threaded rod. And you can see there's the coupling that I made. And you can see what I mean, how the long pieces on the bottom for the tension. And all these beams had to be cut by hand. I did start some of the cuts with a saw, but the saw blade only goes down 2 inches, of course. And the rest has to be cut through by hand. So I definitely got a really nice workout working on all these things. I like being able to hand saw. It's a good exercise. And there you can see what I'm talking about. That coupling is going to be the link between the forward and the back. And that was right in the middle of the beam. And that's coming together. I got this long drill at Home Depot. And I'm able to drill all the way through to the other side. Actually, the way you drill these holes is you drill one side, then the other side, and then you hope they connect. And then you hammer that threaded rod through, hoping it comes out the other side. So there you see, I'm just doing halfway and halfway. Sorry about all the crazy camera moves. And now you see that's about 24 feet long. And I also made a pocket for the beam to live on each side. So when I cut out that long beam, I left about 10 inches at each end, but I cut that all the way back and I bolted a steel cup at each end to grab this beam. And this is me and Mike and his brother John, and we're getting this inside together. Now, I left the crown on the top. I made that intentionally. Once it all goes into place, it falls right into level. And so this is me, Mike, and John, one at a time. And I drop mine into my coupling, and Mike drops his into the coupling, which I don't think I have a close-up of, unfortunately. And so this is the first step. This is one of the first nice days we got in the early spring. And so now you see what's going to happen. We're going to go from one side over the basement opening is going to be all the 6x8s, and over the crawl space is going to be conventional lumber or modern lumber. And now this is maybe a couple of nights later. Me and Rob are going to put in our first piece. We laid it all out. And this is our first piece cut. We made pockets at each end. So it's all pocketed in just like the floor that I took out, but it's all going to be 16 on center, which gives me a lot of leeway when I go to put my flooring in. And here you see this is going to be the pocket. That's the tenon, and this is the mortise. Rob's making the mortise every 16 inches. And Nick Offerman got me that chisel. I might have talked about this here and there. Nick gave me that chisel as a nod to encourage me to build my own barn. And now at this point, I'm working on my third building that I'm either facilitating or paying for. In this case, I'm doing a lot of the physical work. So Nick got me that chisel as a get off your ass and start making something gift in 2008. So that's how long I've had that chisel. And now it's being put to good use. And I specifically wanted to use that chisel on this project, so thank you, Nick. And here you see Rob's working on the pockets, and I'm following up with the cut beams. One at a time, we're filling it in. Oh, I dropped that one through the floor. And like I said, I wanted to make sure that when you're in the basement, you look up. It does not look like all brand new lumber. I just thought this would look more charming. I did have a little bit of agony putting Advantex on top of this without maybe planking underneath. I did consider planking underneath, so when you look up you see floor planks, but I didn't want to get too crazy. The house is not, it's not landmarked. I am bringing it back to life. So what if you look up and you see Advantex particle subflooring from underneath? And then when your joints are too big, you just fill them in with dirt. You don't tell anybody. They're perfect. Perfectly sized up joints. See that? And we had a good team, Rob and I. Rob was making the pockets. I was making the beams. And every day we try to do 2 or 3 over the course of a couple of weeks. Again, with everything else going on and Rob's schedule, my schedule, Mike's schedule, we don't all have like one full day to work together. And there you can see it's really coming to life. And these were all fresh cuts, so they're heavy. They're not going to twist. I know a lot of people are going to accuse them of twisting. They will not twist. They might shrink. They're not going to twist. They're all cut for the purpose of being beams. My guys down the block at Cooksburg Lumber knew exactly what to do. They do this all day long. And so it was nice that they all just fall right into place. Now you see that big beam I have holding up the second floor joist? That's just cautionary. I take it out eventually when we put the full floor in. And it took just a hand half turn to get it to loosen. But that's just precautionary. Ultimately, there will be something to keep that pillar up in the air. Getting everything in place. Rolling. I'm bringing it in the front door and we just flip-flop it down. And there we go. And then we get smart. Rob's idea, let's put this on here so we can just roll it, not worry about it falling in the hole. And here I fall myself. Boom, there you go. I scraped my knee, but I lived to see another day. That was the only accident we had on the whole time. It's really coming together. Stepping back and seeing all this hard work, I can't believe I've come this far and how much further I still have to go. Now, over the winter, we didn't drain the pump and the pump cracked. So that housing on the extreme left side of the pump broke. Rob did a quick Google search and we found a new one, but all these parts had to get out of it. I was able to take all these parts out and put it inside the new one and get the new one all chooched up and put back into place. But I always say to myself, if anybody else can do it, I know I can do it. And just taking it apart slowly and just looking at the parts, being able to figure it out, cleaning off the impeller. The impeller actually was broken in half from the frost. I glued it back together. And here it goes. And then I put all the plumbing back in place. And now we're back in business. So Ken could mix his mortar. Everything's back in action. And here we go. So crisis averted. And now it's time for me to put the modern lumber on this side. We're doing 2x8s because I didn't want to have to notch out each one of the two. If we did 2x12s, for instance, or 2x10s, I didn't want to have to notch out. So we went 2x8s, 12 on center, which if you remember what it looked like, is about 4 times as much lumber that was there. Maybe 5 times as much lumber under that floor as what was there. And here you could see Ken already started working and putting back some of the stones. And you can see in the middle where the splice is, I keep that bottle jack under it. Ultimately, we take it out because it's all supported. Ken left a nice little window in there so we can get access in there if we needed to. And also just to keep the air moving. And this is me and Mike dropping in the 2x. And we're getting closer and closer to a finish. I spent the time alone putting in all the joist hangers. And when it was time for me and Mike to put in the floor, it took us just about 45 minutes to cut and get all these in place. So it was no problem whatsoever. Doing the joist hangers was the problem. I had to do that. And now here we are at G&H, getting our Advantech tongue and groove floor covering. And like I said, this is nice and convenient in the dead of winter when you're in here under a cover, loading your truck up. It makes life a lot easier. A huge part of all of this is carrying and moving things, and I welcome it because for me it's exercise. I like being able to keep moving. I like challenging my body. Now Ken has been working on the fireplace. Here you can see the fireplace is getting a stone stack veneer. It's going to go all the way to the top. It's going to make the thing massive, and it's going to make it beautiful. So Ken is quietly doing his artistry in the background. And I never know when he's going to be there. I never know when he's going to work. But it just shows up. And you'll notice that he really cleaned up the foundation when he had access to the crawl space. He cleaned up the foundation from inside before we put the floor down. So if you go back and watch, I didn't really call attention to it, but he really cleaned up the foundation in that whole spot where Mike is standing. If you remember in the beginning of the video, all the dirt and stone was right up underneath. And I'm just gluing all the floorboards down with some subfloor glue from Type-On. Make sure, put a little bead on every joist to make sure that we don't get squeaks and cracks later on. This flooring went in real easily. It was nice. Just when you take the time to prep, everything goes easy. And these 32 square foot 4x8s went down and just made the job go so quick. I had to take out that column that was holding up the second floor. Like I said before, nothing hardly moved, but later on we'll figure out a way to shore up the second floor. This floor originally had several walls on it, so the second floor is a little bouncy. So we got a couple solutions for that. But here we are just gluing and nailing, and you could see the transition between the two floors. This is just another nod to our friends at Type-On. Mike is prepping a glue bottle there. You could see the transition between the extension and the new floor. There's two 8x8 beams side by side. One is the original one is the one that I put in when we put that extension rim joist in there. The one that's the original one has a big bump in the middle, so I'm going to have to break out the hammer and chisel. I might even use a power planer, a handheld power planer, to get rid of that bump. It is bumped up in the middle just like was that big long ridge beam that we removed. So I'm going to have to chisel that before I make the transition between the front and the back rooms. But now I know they're going to be tangent, so it's going to be able to hide it. What do you think? It was worth changing the floor?
Oh, yeah. That thing was... Forget about it. I don't know if ours is any better, but it's better than what was there.
We started January 3rd. Is when we started ripping the floor.
Started ripping this?
Yeah, January 3rd.
All right. So...
May?
Yeah, it's good progress. Union job.
What do you think, Ken? We're going to get that piece up in here today? You want to do it?
Maybe.
Why?
Well, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. We're ready.
Yeah, no,
We're ready. Ken's got some very specific stones that are going to be the hearth and the mantle on the fireplace. And this is one, the very first one we have to move into place. And as the mantle, we're going to have to move the mantle. The big chunks there right in the front of the camera are going to be the uprights. So me and Mike are just testing out how exactly heavy these are going to be. And me and Mike are able to move it. We didn't know. We might need to call in some extra help. And this is the big one. This is it's about 6.5 feet long. It weighs at least 400 pounds. And we made the decision. Now that it's 6 feet long, if you pick this up and then toggle it down, now you're 6 feet closer than where you were. Obviously, you need to be careful. We're spinning it on the edge, and now we put it on the ramp. We made a ramp so that we could use the wheelbarrow to go up into the room so that we could get stuff up there, or Ken can get stuff up there. And now we're using two little broomsticks to roll it up the ramp. And we just keep moving it, rolling it, moving the stick to the front of the ramp. Like I said, 400 pounds. Me and Mike got it moved up in there in just a few minutes. And we get it over the threshold. There was a little bit of a bump. Once we got it up and inside, Ken got us 2 cinder blocks. And with the cinder blocks, we were able to lay it right in front. And the way Ken does his work, he's going to prep it. We had it flipped around. We didn't realize we had it flipped around, so we had to turn it around. And then you walk it like a Easter Island head. You just walk it into where you need it. And then Ken gets the cinder blocks. And then right there, we lay it down on the cinder blocks and prep to put it right onto the wet cement that Ken is going to prep. Ken mix up some, I suppose it's mortar. Ken's just footing the rock. And there we are. We did not break it. I was afraid of just simply by picking it up, tabletopping it, you might just let it snap in the middle. But under its own weight, it was a good, healthy piece of stone. And here you can see some of the work that Ken's done around the edge. And he's plopping in some mortar. And the mortar is going to support the bottom of this piece of stone. And he just swipes the mortar in place. Ken has a big problem. He cannot get anybody to help him. Nobody in this county wants to do what Ken does. He's a genuine artisan, and it's just a shame. Everybody that he finds works for a couple days and then they disappear. It's really, it's amazing. And most of the time he prefers working alone anyway, but it's not easy lumping these stones around. He has a couple part-time helpers, but he can't find somebody to help him full-time. And whenever we're around, we obviously help him pick up the heavy stuff. And he'll make plans. He'll say, we have to move a couple of 100-pound stones, so I'll make a plan to make sure that me and Mike are around when he has to do that. As Ken's explaining what's going to happen in the next few steps.
And it's always a rest. Okay. You're right outside, Mike. You good? Okay.
You gotta go
You
back.
should have some outside, yep, you should have a couple inches on the outside edge.
I do
There you go. Oh, beautiful.
Oh! Couldn't have planned it better. How many inches you got over there, Mike? I got like 1.5 inches.
I was thinking, you're gonna be able to see this when you drive past.
Yeah.
If those windows are there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those windows are going to get upgraded for sure.
Okay.
That was fucking heavy.
It was heavy. I was almost going to tap out. I didn't realize you were going to stand all the way up with it.
Oh, it's better.
Yeah, no, I know, because it halfway bent over. You can't do nothing.
You hurt yourself though.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do good.
It really was heavy, and after watching the video, I realized that piece is 7 feet tall and about 20 inches wide, so it is extremely heavy. At first, I thought it was only about 6 feet tall, but watching it next to me, if you go back and see, you can see how much taller it is than me, and I'm 5'11". And there's Ken's just mushing down the mortar. And this is, I can't wait to see what this is going to look like. It's going to just really be the centerpiece of everything. It's really going to look really, really, really beautiful. There's Ken getting some mortar in those final few cracks. This all gets washed off with a brush and everything in the final. So all that mortar that you see there, it's all going to get scrubbed off. So that's where we are with the series. Hopefully you're enjoying this, and I'm having fun. I'm learning a lot. I do not like doing construction, but like Mike said, if you don't like doing construction, why the hell did you buy this house? I'm still trying to figure that out. But I do enjoy restoring things and bringing things back to the way they should have been, and that's the challenge here for me. And if that involves construction work, I'm up for the challenge. Next few steps, I'm going to get the radiant installed. I'm going to start framing the walls, start framing the defining walls in the layout of the house. Kitchen's going to go here. New bathroom's going to go right here. A couple of bedrooms down here. Then we'll start working on upstairs. Hope you're having fun. I am. Thank you.